everybody, welcome or welcome back. Today is my favorite video to film every month, and that is my TBR video. And I'm extra excited about this one because it is the first fall TBR of 2024. So I will be choosing books to read in September. I am going to be away for a week, and it's not like a relaxing vacation like we're going to Disney, so I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done that week, but I will be like off work for 4 days after we get back, so I will probably read then because I'll just need to not be around people. But anyway, so I'm still gonna pick 10 to 12 books depending on how this plays out, because I still do think I'll read at least 20 books next month. I usually read anywhere between like 20 to 30 books a month. It's usually around like 22 to 26 books is probably my average. So even if I'm on the lower end of that, I'll still read 10 or 12 books. So going to still pick that many depending on how the first 10 go, and then we'll see what the rest of the month comes out with. So I do have a post-it note, you can't see it because it's over here, that has some Kindle Unlimited reads on it because I always forget about those, and because I'm going to be away and we have a flight and everything, I do want to try to pick like 1 or 2 on that just so that I have an option I can take on my Kindle. I don't have to take a book to Florida. So I do have some there, and then I have a list of 3 books that I will have at the beginning, 1 coming out at the end of August and 2 at the beginning of September, so I should have them relatively quickly into the month to be able to choose to read from. So now that I've explained all of that, this shelf here is my fall TBR. This shelf is the series books that I want to finish before the end of the year, and then this is miscellaneous TBR. So I have a lot to choose from. So let's get started. Prompt number 1 is a fantasy. Perfect, because it's fall, so a good chunk of the books on my fall TBR are fantasy, and I think I already know which one I'm gonna pick, and I'm gonna pick it for a few reasons. 1, because everybody's reading it and I have FOMO. 2, because I own it physically, but it's also on Kindle Unlimited, so I can read it while we're away. And that book is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I don't know much about this other than it's a fantasy romance, and I think it might be enemies to lovers, there's dragons. It sounds like everything I want in a fantasy and more, so that was a pretty easy one to pick. I was hoping, actually, that I could get this one on the TBR this month, so very happy that this is our first pick. That is a chunky book, though, so I was kind of planning on reading it on Kindle Unlimited anyway, because I don't want to break the spine or carry that thing around, but I'll probably read it. If I read any of it at home, I'll read it physically and then Kindle Unlimited when I'm on my trip. So prompt 2 is the highest rated on my TBR. Okay. Let me check what Goodreads has. And I'm going to do obviously the highest rated that isn't part of a series that I can't read. Average rating. And I do have some time left in August to still finish my TBR. I know one of the books is going to be on there, so it's going to be pretty high rated. So flip that. Okay, so the first book is Redeeming 6, which I'm not there yet because I am still reading Keeping 13. That's what I'm reading right now, and that is the second book on my TBR that's the highest rated. And if I wanted to read Redeeming 6, I'd have to read 2 other books before that, so we're going to skip that one. And then the next one is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. So that is the next book in a series for me, and also on the list of books that I want to finish before the end of 2024. So we're going to be reading Daisy Hates the Great Undoing for highest rated on my TBR. That is shocking, actually. I did not realize this book was that highly rated, but it apparently is. So that is book number 2. Prompt number 3. A gifted book. There are 2 on that TBR. Nothing on here. I've read a lot of my gifted books because I haven't really got books since like my birthday and Christmas, and most of those I have read. I bought all of those. And I think this is the same. Okay, so we gotta pick off of here. So my two options for this are Bride by Ellie Hazelwood or Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. This is on my fall TBR as well as a book I want to read before the end of the year because it's a series I want to catch up on. But I've really been itching to read Bride. I'm just not sure if I want to read that in September or save it for October. I don't know why this is such a hard decision because I know I'm eventually going to read both of these this fall. Summer's over. I think I'm gonna go with Emily Wilde's because Bride just has more of like a October, November feel to me. So we're gonna go with Emily Wilde's and Map of the Other Lands. This is the second book in the Emily Wilde series, and it's just a continuation of a cozy fantasy about a girl who is making an encyclopedia of fairies, and Bramblebee, who is like her colleague, friend, potential romantic interest. So I'm excited to see where this one picks up, and I think it'll just be a fun, easy read for September. All right, prompt 4. Is a male author. Don't have a lot of those. I don't think any of these. No. Is he? Oh, I do. I have 2 on here. I have 2 options here because I have Final Girls by Riley Sager or A Door in the Dark by Scott Rentigan. Rentigan? I don't know how you say his name. And over here I have more Riley Sagers or Stephen King. Clearly I don't buy a lot of male written books, but to try to stick with my fall TBR, I think we're gonna go with A Door in the Dark, which is like a YA mystery thriller fantasy about a like wizard school where there's like rich people and then like not so rich people, and this guy ends up having to travel home with the scholarship kids during their holiday because he's being punished and he's like one of the rich kids, and ends up there's like a portal malfunction or something and 6 of the kids are taken somewhere in the middle of nowhere and one of them's dead on arrival. So they have to like get through this together while something's like trying to hunt them. I guess they end up in the woods or something. I don't know. I saw this book at Barnes because the second book, which is like A Whisper in the Wood or Whispering, I don't know. The second book came out recently and I saw them both on the table. So I picked this one up, and if I like it, I'll buy the second one when it comes out in paperback. But this should be a quick, easy read, hopefully, because it is YA. And I'm all about quick, easy reads. I feel like this is taking me longer than it usually does, and I'm not usually this indecisive. Prompt 5. A hyped book. I could have picked that. A hyped book. I really don't feel like anything on here would be considered hyped. What is considered hyped? Like, I have Emily Henry's Funny Story that I borrowed from my sister. I have Tress of the Emerald Sea. I don't know if that would be hyped. Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood. The Rule Book by Sarah Adams, would that be considered hyped? Like, I know it was really popular for a while, everyone was reading it. I'm between this, I think, and Funny Story. I think I'm gonna go with Funny Story. That gets a book back to my sister as well, because I think this is the only one of hers I have left. Actually, nope. I forgot about the books that are coming out. I'm gonna go with Daydream by Hannah Grace. It's not out yet, but I think that series is really hyped. That book coming out has been super high on everybody's radar. So I do think for hyped book, I'm gonna go with Daydream by Hannah Grace, and I will have that right at the end of August, so I will have it to read in September. Almost forgot about that. And I really did want to read that book next month, so that is good. So this will be number 6. Title with 5 or more words. So up here I have You Shouldn't Have Come Here. The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I have to count because I'm like 5 and I can't. Technically Magnolia Park's Into the Dark is 5, but I do not want to read 2 books from that universe in the same month. I don't hate myself that much. I have a guide to being just friends. The Library of Lost Things. It's only 4. Una out of 4. That's 4. How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying. I'm really excited to read that. Tress of the Emerald Sea. I think those are all my options. So these 2 romances. Tress. How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying. I think I really want to read that. I think I'm going to read How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. I found this at Barnes & Noble like a month or 2 ago, and it just looked really funny and interesting and looks like a good time. So it's fantasy. We're getting into the fall. I think that'll be a fun, interesting, funny fantasy read. So we have a cozy fantasy, a romantasy, and now like a funny fantasy. Laugh out loud fantasy tale. Okay, so that's book 6. Because we can't forget we have Daydream. It also has the most words, so it definitely is over 5. Enemies to Lovers. Okay. I have Not in Love I could read. I think that's technically Enemies to Lovers, is it? I don't know. I have issues calling a romance novel Enemies to Lovers because I don't know. It's hard for me to think that it's actually enemies when it's real life. But I don't know that I'd call Belladonna Enemies to Lovers either. Maybe. Let's look up what the trope is for that. It's kind of enemies to lovers, apparently, according to the Google. This is forbidden love, maybe. It's a hate to love, but I don't know that I'd call it like... It is not this difficult. I'm like, pick a book. And that's more Marriage of Convenience, like forced marriage. I don't know that that would be the primary trope there. I don't want to call this Enemies to Lovers. I have one on here that I think may be Enemies to Lovers. This is a lot of fantasy. I think Shadows Between Us. No, I don't think that's technically Enemies to Lovers either. I think that's just her being vindictive. Ugh, why is this so hard? We're gonna go with, because I'm pretty sure that is one of the tropes in that book, because it was kind of sort of in the first one. I'm gonna go with the second Zodiac Academy book. I have not been this indecisive in a while. So Zodiac Academy 2 is Ruthless Fae. And I'm going to consider that Enemies to Lovers because I know that there's romances in there, and right now the sisters are pretty much enemies with all of the people that could potentially be love interests. So one of them has to be considered Enemies to Lovers. So we're going to go with that one for Enemies to Lovers. And I'm going to stop overthinking it. So this is number 8. Oh my god, I'm not moving through this very quickly. lowest rated on TBR. Ironic that I'm going to get that in the same TBR. Oh, at least it's a thriller. Okay. So the lowest rated on my TBR is 27 Minutes by Ashley Tate. And this is a thriller about, I think there was a kid who was in an accident with his sister and he took 27 minutes to actually call for help. And I'm not sure if he can actually remember it, if he's holding a secret, but it's basically figuring out the truth of what happened in those 27 minutes, that she potentially could have been saved if he would have called for help. So I don't like to know much going into my thrillers, but I saw this at, the name would be great, Barnes & Noble, and it just looked interesting. Like, in general, like, it's not a, like, super interesting, like, cover, but it was interesting enough that I picked it up. So that will be book 8. And I do have 2 that I can read on my Kindle. They're both quite large, though, so there's no way I'm reading both of them, because I'm pretty sure the Zodiac Academy books are, like, 500 pages long. And that book's massive. So this is prompt 9, free pick. Yay. Okay. Do I want to pick one of the books that's coming out? There's nothing over here that I super want to read, that, up here at least. I do really want to, that was loud. I do really want to read Vow of Thieves, because I just read Dance of Thieves, and I really want to read this book. But I don't have a lot of romance. No, you know what? I really do want to read. I want to pick one of these. I should be picking from there, because I'm just making my life so much more difficult. I've been wanting to read Cross the Line by Simone Saltani since I saw this book come out, and since I got it. This is the Illumicrate edition, Illumicrate Afterlight edition, and it feels summery to me, and the beginning of September is still kind of summery, so I do want to read this. If not, I'm not going to read it till next year. So I'm going to pick Cross the Line by Simone Saltani for my free pick. Right, number 10. I don't know if I'm going to pick 12. I have to think about the other stuff that I want to read. More than 500 pages, of course. Okay. Love you too, TBR. I do want to read Keeping 13 in September, because if I read one of these for the rest, a month for the rest of the year, I will finish this series. And this is also on Kindle Unlimited, so that gives me another option. Yeah, well over. Well, that's the extended chapter, but it's like 600 and some pages. So this is well over 500 pages. So I do think I'm going to pick Keeping 13 so that I can keep on track with these for the rest of the year, and it does give me another option depending on what I'm feeling when I go to Florida, if I want to read a fantasy, a romance. That's it, because 2 of them are fantasy romance and one's just a romance. So, but options are always nice. Okay, we'll pick 2 more. I'll read them, hopefully. $11 is a book with sports, of course. There's a book with sports, because the last 2 books I picked, sports books. Now I can pick it. I'm going to pick The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This is on my fall TBR. Football starts, well, football has started. And it's still kind of summery, so I think this is the perfect month to read this. While it's still a fall sport, the book just looks summery because I think it takes place in California. So a book with sports is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. And number 12, and then I'm stopping because I need to. A map in the front of the book. That's a fantasy. Okie doke. This is an option. Just to see. I don't think there's a map in this book. There's a family tree. Does that count as a map? I know it doesn't. Okay. Does it hell bent? I think I want to save this for more like really fall. And I don't think it has a map anyway, so I think I'm good. Wait. It does have a map of Yale, but I think I want to save this for like October or November. There is no map. Belladonna. And I want to save this for more of the fall, so I could pick King of Scars. I need to read some Cassandra Clare. But I don't, there's no map in this one. Okay, no map in that one. Seriously? Oh, nope, there is a map. It's just literally the front cover. Okay, so these are my two options that I'm going to try to stick with because I really don't have too much more fantasy over here anyway. So I have to pick between Vow of Thieves and King of Scars. I think I'm going to go with Vow of Thieves. I just read Dance of Thieves and I do want to finish this out before I forget about what happens. I know I'm going to read this. I could end up reading this month too. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But I think that I'm going to go with Vow of Thieves for map in front of book. I was very specific. What if the map was in the back of the book? All right, so quickly to go over because I've already wasted a lot of time. A book that is hyped, I'm going with Daydream by Hannah Grace, which I don't have yet, but it's pre-ordered, so I will have it by the beginning of the month. Enemies to Lovers, I chose Ruthless Fae, which is the second book in the Zodiac Academy, also on Kindle Unlimited. For fantasy, I chose When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. The highest rated on my TBR that I could read is Daisy Hate's The Great Undoing. A gifted book, I chose Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. A book with a male author, I chose A Door in the Dark by Scott Rentgen. I do not know if I'm saying his name right. Oh, I guess I could have picked this. I guess I could have picked this for a male author too, but title with 5 or more words, I chose How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. Lowest rated on my TBR was 27 Minutes by Ashley Tate. My free pick is Cross the Line by Simone Saltani. A book with more than 500 pages is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. A book with sports is The Rulebook by Sarah Adams. And a book with a map in the front is Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. So those are the 12 books, right? 12 books that I will be reading in September, along with probably some mood reads, but I now have a good mix and quite a few options for my Kindle to read while I'm on vacation, and got one of the new releases on there, so very excited about that. I thank you all so much. If you've made it this far, let me know what books are on your radar for September. I'm always looking for some great recommendations. I'm not trying to buy too many books before the end of the year because I do want to try to get through what I have, but I have lists, so just let me know if you have any recommendations for me and I'll add that to my list. And thanks so much. I'm very excited for a fall reading month, and I will see you all hopefully in the next one.